going on, guys? Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Emre Kazim, sitting here with Cameron Selby, and we're going to be going over the Christmas slate, guys. It's going to be awesome. We got a Christmas slate. You're going to watch football while getting stuffed. It's one of our favorite times of the year, of course. This and Thanksgiving when we get to watch football while sitting on the couch eating all that turkey. So, getting after it though.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's the same four that we mentioned on the Saturday special slate that we broke down.
Right.
So a whole lot of fun. It's the same four teams, but different matchups, and maybe we attack a little differently. Plus, there's some injury news that we need to do that will change a little bit of our outlook based on what we did previously.
Yep. So let me pull it up now. Looking at it, we got four quarterbacks, of course. Only four teams in this one, but we're gonna rule out one of the quarterbacks off the rip. We're gonna take off Russell Wilson. He's gonna be the one odd guy out. He was 5,500, but first guy we're gonna talk about is going to be Lamar Jackson. On his MVP year, he is $8,000. Added Derrick Henry, of course. I think Justice Hill will play. I'm gonna put him in there.
I don't expect him to play.
You don't expect him.
He was concussed and knocked out of the game. So,
didn't practice Monday.
No,
so yeah, I guess not. Yeah.
Yeah, on a 4-day turnaround, like I said, he was knocked out cold.
Yeah.
So I don't expect him to play at all. Keaton Mitchell was a healthy scratch in his relief, and then what is his first name? Forgive me. But Ali.
Rasheen.
Rasheem.
Yeah, he's a rookie.
Yeah, Rasheen Ali. Each of the last 2 weeks has played 10 and 9 snaps respectively. Really, Justice Hill has been kind of splitting 50-50 with Derrick Henry from a snaps perspective the entire year. But once he went out, which was somewhat early in the game, he only played 7 snaps. Derrick Henry ended up with 74% of the snaps in a tough matchup, and he still had 162 on the ground and 27 through the air. So basically, he and Lamar's prices flipped this week, but it's the same sentiment of combining 16-2 to afford both.
Right.
I think it's more possible for you to do it this week because of the matchup that presents itself. And between the two up top, obviously we're just talking Baltimore, but Derrick Henry is probably my favorite running back on the slate for a reason, because of his total and because of the confidence that he just got an extreme workhorse workload as soon as Justice Hill went down.
Yep. So get some Derrick Henry this week. I mean, he's a 4.5 box running back because he's not at home, but he will be one of the main guys. And then you got to look at the receivers for this game if you are going to be playing Lamar Jackson. Zay Flowers is actually, I believe, the highest value receiver on the slate. He did go for 100 yards last week, which pushed him over 18 points. I was surprised that he was so highly owned actually on the main slate.
It was just kind of a weird thing that there was one receiver expensive up top. We knew George Pickens was out, and he was the second highest or most expensive guy at only 5,900. That's why he kind of stuck out to me, and played him for a reason. He is definitely due for a touchdown after the recent weeks of just kind of having a 10-point floor every week, just not scoring since week 11 against Pittsburgh. But that was a tough game where he only had 2 for 39 as well.
Right.
So, he's just it's really tough to trust receivers in this offense. But Rashad Bateman has been actually the guy that's been the deep field threat this year. He was at risk of missing because of a, late week injury on the injury report, but, he still played anyway. He caught his only catch was a touchdown. So he's leading the team with 8 receiving touchdowns on the year. So really breakout. Feel really good about the investment we had in him as like a wide receiver 6 or 7 because people were just writing him off. But yeah, obviously Deontay Johnson no longer with the team, and that didn't work out like we expected it to. So yeah, it's just him, and it's just Zay Flowers, and then the occasional Nelson Aguilar whenever he makes that occasional appearance.
Yeah, and then at tight end, of course. But I will say, you did say Deontay Johnson. He did get picked up by Houston, so now they're going to see each other. He won't play, but it'll be cool.
Yeah.
So it'll be a funny
Hopefully there'll be some shit
situation. Yeah, great. It'll be great. Let me add Isaiah Likely because I couldn't find him earlier. Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, both tight ends on this slate that are reasonable. Mark Andrews is at a great end of the year, basically. He's got a floor of 10 points, and that's exactly what you need for $4,300. And he's definitely one of my favorite plays at the tight end position this week.
Yeah, his price just for whatever reason isn't jumping up. But actually, I did misspeak earlier. Rashad Bateman saying that he was leading the team in receiving touchdowns. It's actually Mark Andrews, and obviously he had a really rough start. We've mentioned before, but we believed in just kind of him having a slow start because of kind of guess car accident was worse than we expected
Yeah.
for injuries and what have you, but his snaps are just as high as they should be. Obviously, this past week playing 76, very reasonable. And then obviously, Isaiah Likely trailing at 66 as well. So they like to play a lot of two tight end sets. Likely got into the end zone as well. He's just kind of tailed off from his ceiling games. He's had the occasional touchdowns, obviously with 5 on the year. His price didn't really jump at all either. But what I did find interesting was when Deontay Johnson was ruled out and then Nelson Aguilar was out as well, and they were game time decision for Rashad Bateman. They were actually saying that Isaiah Likely was actually more of his snaps come out in the slot. So instead of bumping up a Tylan Wallace or something of that nature for snaps, just say that Isaiah Likely is going to get those numbers. And obviously, back-to-back games with 66% of the snaps, so he's on the field a lot. You don't really see somebody $3,500 getting on the field that much. So very reasonable investment if you want to. I think it's even viable to do double tight end from Baltimore.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that would be such an interesting build. But honestly, I'm not confident that Zay Flowers won't have a random dud like he's had in the past, or Rashad Bateman doesn't catch 1 for 13 and a touchdown, So, yeah, I think that it's definitely reasonable to put both of them in. Going over to the next team, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not sure what to do with the backfield, but it doesn't matter because I'm not playing either of them this week, hopefully.
Well, I mean,
Might have to.
At the end of the day, you're going to have to play a cheap running back. So I don't know. We were right on the call, actually, when I pointed out Jaylen Warren had been exceeding Najee in snaps, and he had most of the volume once again. I think he had a season high in snaps. But getting back to Kansas City, Isaiah Pacheco just isn't getting on the field increasingly like people would have thought. I didn't expect him to come back up from a broken leg and just instantly start killing it again. I think he was just going to fade into existence. That sounds disrespectful saying it, but just
I get it though. I mean,
he's an undrafted player that's done well with his opportunities, but I just don't think he's the guy of the future. And him breaking his leg, I didn't think they were going to immediately force him in to just the bulk of the important touches. So they've basically been going by committee, but Kareem Hunt was the more efficient guy. And on 2 weeks ago in week 15, when we were leading up to the Saturday slate, they both played the same amount of snaps. Going into it, Isaiah Pacheco had all the work early, and then Kareem Hunt had all the work late and all the important touches late and punched one in as well. So if I'm going to be investing one or the other, I'm going to invest in the guy $500 cheaper, the one that's getting just as many opportunities, but if you're going to also be a little more efficient, then, I say that with him coming on 3 straight games of just 3.5 yards a carry or worse.
Right.
I don't know.
It's not fun.
It's not fun.
I'd rather play other
Exactly.
options, basically, in my personal opinion.
I think the biggest thing has just been Xavier Worthy kind of really coming into his own of late. Obviously, his season best game of the year, going for 20.5, 14 touches or opportunities, back-to-back weeks, having 14 opportunities. And obviously we faded him, and that was what really did our lines in, because we had basically everything figured out except for the Kansas City receivers. It was worth investing in Mahomes, but once again, Travis Kelce with another dud, and then Xavier Worthy being the guy to catch the touchdown. Almost had 2.
Should have had 2.
Yeah, should have had 2, but back-to-back games, averaging 20 points a game in those stretch. He's gone up to 56, but that's still reasonable enough to invest in him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other guy that plays receiver for them is DeAndre Hopkins. He had 4 for 37. He has been he's just kind of hitting his floor. And I wonder if he gets back to these, higher target games, but we'll have to see. I'm okay playing him at 5,100 though, especially in a double stack with an Xavier Worthy.
It's really tough just because he doesn't really exceed 50% of the snaps in many games this year. Obviously, 4 of the last 6 games have been under that mark. And the 2 games that he did, they just barely went over. And he hasn't been above 60 since week 10. So really, he's just not on the field enough, and he does get targeted. But he's not having the 100-yard game upside anymore. It's touchdown or bust almost for him. And so until his price kind of gets, it's 5,100. That's fine for a 2-gamer, but in the playoffs, honestly, his role is probably worth like a 4,500 guy that you're hoping for. But name value, I think he's always going to draw ownership because of being DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I love DeAndre. We've watched him growing up,
Mm-hmm.
so I completely get it.
And then Marquise Brown, obviously
Oh,
his first game, won to debut. He was 4,500. Don't know why they call him Hollywood Brown on the
messes me all
platform,
up.
but yeah. So his first game, obviously injured his shoulder in preseason, missed the entire season up until last week, and he was minimum priced on the main slate,
Mm-hmm.
or the 2 game slate, but in the showdown slate he was 3,000. So you had to make a decision there, but it was a really easy plug and play. He only played 20 snaps, but he was targeted 8 times.
Yep.
That is a 40% target opportunity when he's on the field. That's a pretty solid debut with the Kansas City Chiefs, who like to spread the ball around. So 4,500, his price obviously has gone up, but if he's gonna get 5 to 8 targets, very, very reasonable. So if you're going the Kansas City route, him as a secondary piece is something I'm very, very okay with.
Fair enough. And then Travis Kelce, because he's Travis Kelce. We still have to talk about him. He had 7 targets this last week. He's just a floor guy right now, and he didn't have the touchdowns. He only has 2 touchdowns on the whole year. It's pretty awful for him standard wise. Hasn't had a touchdown since week 10. He is a boom or bust kind of guy. 5,300 is actually really low. It's
Yeah, I
probably
think
his
that's a
lowest of the
season
year, right?
low.
Yeah, gotta be.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I've never seen him this cheap. Maybe all the way back to the Alex Smith days.
Yeah, way back, way back.
DFS. So I hate calling him touchdown or bust, but that's what he's really become. He hasn't had the 100-yard games in a while. Target wise, he's only averaging about 7-ish, pretty reasonably. And so if he's not scoring touchdowns, it's really hard to invest in him. So guess who is scoring touchdowns? Mark Andrew. He's 1,000 cheaper. It's just really easier to fit him in compared to Kelce. Kelsey's almost becoming a tournament play because of just how rough his game scripts have been and how many people have been let down by him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's not the most owned tight end, but it is still fair to say that he has the highest upside. He just has. It's been a long, long time, and you really got to make a stand on it because he makes things really awkward at the receiver position if you do go with Kelce.
Yeah, the price just is tough to get to, especially for the production. So let's go over to the next quarterback, and we're going to talk about C.J. Stroud, 6,000. They have been bad, just straight up bad. Houston has been bad, and I'm worried that this might be kind of blowout. Ish, but Joe Mixon has been good out of everybody. Nico Collins is the best, one of the best receiver options on the slate, and Tank Dell did, of course, tear his ACL and dislocate his kneecap. I talked to Dustin about this earlier. Being a PA, he thought that everything was going to be gone because normally when you dislocate your kneecap, it just comes with the rest of the whole knee going out. So
right,
he actually
and they haven't really come out with the entire details of it, but he had to stay overnight,
Right.
and I would not even expect him to play next year. That's how significant it is. It's not just he'll be back, but he's going to be limited, so don't invest in him. No, it's like he won't be there, so they're going to have to look elsewhere because they're going to lose Stephon Diggs, who also tore his ACL. And he's going to be a free agent. So they really need to figure out this position. We thought it was the deepest in football to start the year because their wide receiver 6 was Xavier Hutchinson.
Yeah.
And I really liked him coming out of college. He just went to just no opportunity. But now all of a sudden it looks really, really thin if a guy like Mechie doesn't step up or Xavier Hutchinson. So because of Tank Dell's injury, it opens up a lot of salary relief because last week there wasn't really anything other than until we figured out Marquise Brown was minimum price and playing. There was nothing to invest in down low other than a Calvin Austin. But at least this week there's multiple options in addition to Calvin Austin should George Pickens be out. We'll talk about him in a second. But John Mechie, $4,000. He had a 2-game sample size where both Diggs and Nico were out in weeks 9 and 10, and I believe he had a dud, but then a showdown, he was my tournament play, and he ended up scoring a touchdown working out. So he had a great game, bad game, but the biggest thing was in those sample sizes, he played 63 and 65% of the snaps. Very strong, healthy sample size. He did miss last week due to a shoulder injury, but he was the full participant on Monday. So I expect him to play and be in and be pretty heavily targeted.
Yeah, and then Robert Woods is the other option that did play this last week. Him and Xavier Hutchinson split 58% each, but when John Mechie's on the field, we've seen Xavier Hutchinson lose snaps, not Robert Woods. So Robert Woods will be the guy that I think gets the number 3 option for receiver.
Well, I agree with that, but at the same time, in that 2-game sample size that I mentioned with John Mechie, Robert Woods actually played the least amount of snaps between the three of them when both Nico and Stephon Diggs were out. Obviously, with Tank Dell being out, it's a different dynamic
Right.
because they don't play all the same like lineups.
Yeah,
essentially.
Robert Woods
But
comes out of the slot a lot as well.
exactly. So he didn't really have the boom either. He's just a dart throw. It's hard to separate between him, Hutchinson, and Mechie, but I'd actually probably side with Xavier Hutchinson being 500 cheaper, and because of his sample size in those two games, playing 75 and 84% of the snaps, and you save $500, and he'll probably be lower owned and not project as high or better. That's kind of the side or thought process I was leaning on when I'm kind of dissecting what to do with Houston.
I think I'm actually on the opposite side.
Yeah.
I think I'm on the Robert Woods side because of the fact that it's a slot receiver. Xavier Hutchinson mostly runs out of the outside, so I'm more comfortable thinking that since Nico is playing and John Mechie's playing, I think that'll be the guy.
For what it's worth, projections are going to side with you as well. Obviously, there's a 3.7 point difference between the two, but also Xavier Hutchinson less than 1% owned, which obviously I don't think it'll be that low.
Right.
But I think it'll be exponentially less than Robert Woods. So if you're looking for a difference and some salary relief, that's kind of why I decided the way I did. But still, as a last guy in, I'd probably prefer to go a cheap tight end instead of one of those two guys.
Fair.
Obviously, we need to mention Dalton Schultz, who came into the week, obviously up and down season, had scored one touchdown, but 2 of the last 3 weeks scored his touchdown. He had a season high or tied for season high 8 targets this past week. So him only being 4,100 really is kind of between. I'm more even comfortable with him than John Mechie as well.
Oh, yeah,
so again, as a flex, last guy in, Dalton's probably my preference of the Houston group.
Fair. And then going over to the last team on the slate that we're going to talk about. Sorry. We're not talking about Pittsburgh. Get out of here.
I do want to mention, though, George Pickens was a full participant in practice. I didn't expect when I did the write-up this morning that he would play, and considering that he was a full participant, sounds like he'll play. That does open up a lot of difference because 6,600, you do have to invest in him. I'm not saying we should, but
it was Calvin
really,
Austin.
It makes you feel better about a lot of things, and it makes you feel way worse about a Calvin Austin. So just did want to point that out because I don't think you can just immediately just fade Pittsburgh in its entirety. But I do want to say with the running back position for Pittsburgh, obviously Kansas City's #1 against running backs in terms of fantasy score, but Chris Jones got hurt this past week, and I don't expect him to play. So that's a big loss that opens up some things. And for what it's worth, because, we're talking about trends and stuff, Jaylen Warren, season high 67% of the snaps, he out-touched. And basically 2-1 Najee Harris's snaps this week. And obviously that was a blowout. I don't expect Kansas City to blow out because they haven't blown out anybody really this year. But if I decide with one, I think Jaylen Warren is probably my favorite running back in the 5K range.
Fair enough. Okay, let's pick a quarterback. Where do you want to start?
All right, so I want to start, and let's see if we can just get the two most dominant threats up top. So, Lamar and then Henry. And then I also want to throw in Nico Collins and then just see how we can maneuver this line.
Okay. So would you like to play the KC defense then?
I think really this defense, because I expect, like you said, Baltimore and Houston is the game to target on this slate.
Right.
So it's either Kansas City or Pittsburgh for me. I'm picking Kansas City to win, so let's just put Kansas City.
Okay.
But if we need $200, Kansas City, it's not like they're putting up a ton, and then also their best player being out. I would be fine going with Pittsburgh, but still playing some Kansas City players.
I'd like to get a Baltimore receiver or tight end. Actually, would be the preferred.
Let's put in Mark Andrews.
Yeah, that's preferred. Just kidding. Okay, let's build the rest of our line. Running back wise, I'm not against going Jalen. I think that one makes a lot of sense. So at 5,500, he's probably preferred. If not, I don't want to do that. So let's just go Jalen.
Yeah.
That's just good.
I would be really interested on the slate with Justice Hill if he was playing. But because he's not, like, I thought one of my thoughts, obviously this was before the concussion happened, but I was like, this would be so fun on a Baltimore slate to have Lamar, Derrick Henry, and Justice Hill, because nobody would go that route, and I think it could really pay off. But that's neither here nor there. So we got about 4,200, just over that per player. I think John Mechie
Yeah,
Makes a lot of sense.
4,000.
And then
Okay.
I know exactly what I want to do. So going with Marquise Brown at 45. And then last guy in, you got a couple of options. Initially, Calvin Austin was my preference, but because of George Pickens likely being in, Dalton Schultz as the second guy, I'm into that. But if you want to go cheaper than that and get off of Hollywood Brown to get up to a Rashad Bateman, that's fine. But that will, of note, we wouldn't have any Kansas City players.
I think the problem is I don't want 3 Houston players.
True.
So that's my only issue with it. Isaiah Likely at 3,500. We could get 2 tight ends for Baltimore.
2 tight ends, both their running threats, and no receivers. That's an interesting way to go. It would be really cool to get up to Xavier Worthy if we could.
Okay.
Don't think there's a
400.
way, unless we went down from Jalen Warren, thus fading Pittsburgh entirely.
But who? I don't really.
It's a weird build doing that and then having to go down to Pittsburgh's defense.
Kareem Hunt was my guy that I was thinking was going to fit. He doesn't fit.
Yeah.
I mean, you could technically go away from John Mechie, go to Robert Woods, and get Kareem Hunt. I don't know that I want to do that. I'd rather just stay with John Mechie.
Let's see. What is the highest valued of all skill players on this slate?
Yes. Tell me.
It is Mark Andrews,
Okay,
followed by
go
Marquise
us.
Brown, Dalton Schultz, Zay Flowers, and Derrick Henry are the highest 5. It's really ugly down low. We can just pretend that Noah Gray's down game was a dud and he's just gonna come back and score his 2 touchdowns again and be only 3,300 as an idea.
Okay. Well, but what is his price?
33.
Okay, that would give me the perfect amount of money if I wanted to go Kareem Hunt at running back, not at flex. Because you got to do weird things on these types of slates.
Right.
You could also go Xavier Hutchinson, but that would give us 3. That makes more sense, but that's 3 KC guys, 3 Baltimore, 2 Houston, no Pittsburgh. That's fine with me.
Against that.
I'm not against not
So
having
let me ask you this question, because they're all the most expensive players for a reason. They'll all be getting a ton of ownership. If you had to fade one of Lamar, Derrick Henry, and Nico Collins, who would you fade?
Oh, that's so dumb. Such a terrible. I guess Lamar.
I was going to side with Lamar, and the reason is because there's no other option. Like with Joe Mixon, I very much prefer Derrick Henry exponentially over Joe Mixon because of the workload I'm expecting him to have without Justice Hill. And then Nico Collins, there's nobody else even close to his price. So
Yeah, that's why.
you can save some money going to Zay Flowers, but I mean, it's one of the best matchups to have, and without, I just don't see how he doesn't have 12 targets plus if they're trailing the whole game at home in a non-weather issued environment. But with Lamar, you go down to a
Patrick Mahomes here.
Patrick Mahomes,
He
you have the
fits this
organic
line.
stacks that you want, and then instead of playing a John Mechie or an uncomfortable Noah Gray, then you can get up to other spots.
Yeah, you get 49. Rashad Bateman. Because we don't have a Baltimore.
I would actually prefer.
That's not really what I want to do.
What I would do with this exact line is going with Hollywood Brown and then
Yeah.
going back from Kareem Hunt to Jalen Warren.
Agreed.
So then you have exposure to every single team.
No, I love that. I love that line. Beautiful.
Yeah. And I love Lamar on this slate.
Yeah,
But
but
it's
he's
just being able to-
$8,000.
He's $8,000 and Mahomes being able to have some, apparently bum ankled Mahomes is just the guy to
Does
play.
not
It's just never,
matter.
faced him whatsoever. Pittsburgh's kind of tailed off a little defensively in recent weeks.
Some people are that way though. Like I'll be honest, like I don't have ankle issues, but I have like I hurt my shoulder. It's like well whatever. I just
And from a narrative perspective, Kansas City locks up the win and the bye with a win this week, and thus not only getting an extra extended couple days because they play on Wednesday instead of Sunday, but you also are able to, avoid playing and resting guys in week 18 because you're not playing for anything. On top of that, you get to if Denver ends up beating you, knocking Cincinnati, who would be very, very scared to play in
I'd
a
rather
potential
play
first round
Denver.
matchup.
I'd rather play Denver.
Exactly. So,
Agreed.
doing that as well, and then also on top of that, having another bye to basically get 2.5 weeks off with Mahomes. So I think they go very hard to try to take this game, and then on top of that, Pittsburgh, they're going to be going hard because if they lose, they're probably going to lose the division, which also means that you're going to go on the road,
Right.
having to play a Baltimore for a third time or something like that. Unless you find a way to get the 5 seed and then get to play Houston, which is what everybody wants to do at this point.
Yeah, I think Mahomes just naturally becomes my favorite quarterback on this slate.
Because of the line. You don't have to make any uncomfortable decisions.
Well, I think this is pretty chalky. I think this is a chalky line. But at the same time, there's a lot of options on this slate. We don't have a Zay Flowers. I think he'll be pretty chalky. So let's go see. So Zay will be chalky to me. What running backs? Obviously, Derrick Henry. I think people are going to try to get to Joe Mixon. He's actually got the higher.
I bet you he'll get about 35-40%.
Yeah. So I think he'll get some. Tight end wise, I don't know what's going to happen with Travis Kelce.
I bet you he'll be the second most popular tight end.
Behind Mark.
Being that we're not playing him with Mahomes is different enough in itself.
Fair.
I really wish we could find a way, but really I don't know another way to build a Patrick Mahomes line other than this. I really don't.
Yeah, this is awesome. So
fun stuff.
Cool. That's going in our builds, guys, so that
Really
everybody
easy.
knows this is we're gonna put that one in. Do you want to make any more lines?
On the Christmas slate, no.
Okay.
Did you want to attack any just kind of quick run throughs of the showdowns?
We can run
We
through.
did that on the last one. We don't even have to do
we'll just talk
an
about it.
exclusive breakdown. We could react in real time because I actually haven't seen the prices for this slate.
Brand new. Brand new.
Yeah, they just came out as we really started recording our videos for the week. So interested in doing that. So let's start with the Pittsburgh one because that is the first game on the slate. Unless I'm lying. Nope, 12 o'clock.
Yeah, first 12 o'clock game.
I don't know how I'm going to be able to just watch all these sports because you got a 5-game NBA slate, which the Spurs are playing the first game, and how are you going to do that? But then there's lock. It's a whole thing. Whole beautiful thing.
Let's see, flex wise, what prices? Oh, they're cheap. All right, cool.
So,
we have a
right now the highest value says Roman Wilson. I guess he's returning off IR.
Okay.
I don't know about that. Justin Watson's down to 1,200. He's been flirting with the high 2K
He's
range,
playing.
but he's playing snaps
constantly
in recent weeks. But even with Hollywood Brown back this past week, he still played 53% of the snaps, which is basically what he's been at the last month and a half. I don't know production-wise what he did this past week, but obviously touchdown or bust or just getting a couple catches down low, that's what you really need. So that price point's really interesting to me.
There's a lot of people priced in this range, in these ranges. Look at this, just so many guys above 6,000. I will start with, of course, let's start with Xavier Worthy. Let's pick Mahomes. Warren. I think I want.
And I think because of the price, I mean, we saw the difference this past week. Look at Marquise Brown is all the way at 68. 66. So that you don't have to force that in for 20 snaps if you're expecting that little of production. Maybe he doesn't get the 8 targets this time. So I don't think you have to play, even though we're interested in playing him for 45 on a 2-gamer.
Right.
I think it's okay to, if he's only 400 different from DeAndre Hopkins, I'd rather kind of side with that route if we could.
I think I side. Weirdly enough, Russ. Oh man, Pittsburgh seems raw pointy.
Can you do Kelsey real quick? Put him in. Just short. Okay. I was wondering if you just went ahead and did one of Hopkins and Hollywood plus a Kelsey and be able to afford a kicker. But I think we're short of that range. But if you, instead of doing that, Travis Kelsey and did both of those.
Yeah, I was gonna say both of them. Can I put Patrick? No, he's 15. That's a lot. Just kidding. Okay, so both receivers, 55.
Is kicker.
I'd pick Boswell because he's number one
and he's
on
not
the year.
Injured, so
yeah, fair. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. That's a cool, quick first look. Let's put Mahomes at cap real quick and then go from there. I think that's the other way I want to build. So.
And then once again, Noah Gray's price just isn't changing. It's $3,000, and he did have a dud, only one target this past week, but he's been consistently playing all the snaps. Even though he only had one snap or one target, he still played 50% of the snaps. So being only $3,000, that's a good salary saver.
What does that give me? 6,200. Calvin Austin.
That's tough.
It is gross. What if I went to Noah Gray?
If you know for Kelsey.
Yeah. So 5-1, just to put up Mahomes with all of the pass catchers. That's cool.
I might actually prefer that over the first build we did.
That's pretty cool, honestly. I think that's a fun build because then you just get everybody. If they score 4 touchdowns, you're probably getting all of them unless Kareem Hunt decides to fall in the end zone.
Exactly. So yeah,
right.
I honestly, that's a really fun line. So
cool.
I would expect Kansas City Pittsburgh to be a raw point slate. I bet you it's something along the lines of 20-17. 22-7 or 24-17, whatever.
Yeah.
But Kansas City locking up the 1 seed is what my prediction would be.
What's the line at?
I believe it was at 40.5, 43.5.
And what's the spread?
Kansas City -3.
Okay.
Baltimore and Houston, on the other hand, 46.5 point total, which is there's a reason why we were preferring that game in the 2-game showdown. But Baltimore is a 5.5 point favorite on the road. Obviously, a rematch of the divisional round last year where Lamar kind of ran rapid on Houston. So
different slate completely. As you can see, there are some guys above 11,000, 3 of them. All the guys we want at that. So we're going to have to get...
fade for me would be Joe Mixon up top
Fair.
Because of that.
Well, then...
I don't even know if it's possible to fit all 3 of them. Which I'm glad that they did that because basically everybody would be feeling that way. So
right. I don't want to play CJ Stroud though, and he's 9,000.
No. So
does that mean I go Lamar Jackson and his running back on a slate like this? Do I go Lamar Jackson and Nico?
Let me.
Is there a captain you like?
I want to do a quick build with a cheap captain and go Mark Andrews.
Where is he? Oh, that's nice.
So 87. He actually went down in price in terms of the captain showdown, but put in all 3 of the top guys.
There's no way, Cam.
There's a way. Listen,
what are the prices down here?
Cade Stover, highest value, 2.77 projected. He's only $600.
Rather get to Hutchinson and
all their
Mechie.
That's
both
a
of
good
them
point.
are reasonable.
So, Mechie 4,000.
Isaiah Likely.
Hutchinson 3,000. I was hoping for less. Robert Woods 48. I'm not touching that.
But look at this. Like you have Isaiah Likely. Why is that Robert Woods so much higher on this slate, not the other?
I don't know.
Whatever. Go there, and then you get Hutchinson. You could go to Isaiah Likely instead and get Hutchinson, which is probably my preferred because you got Lamar. Like that. $300 left over. That's honestly, it's a pretty cool lineup.
Yeah, and obviously Cade Stover, I don't know why he's projected over 2 points when he didn't have a target this past week. And I don't think he's been playing a huge amount of snaps in recent weeks. I think, let's see. Stover, I guess he still didn't play this past week.
Yeah, he didn't play last week. That's what I was going to say.
Gotcha.
So he's back. When was the last time he played?
He played in week 13 where he played 59% of the snaps.
And he had, week 13. Come on.
Four of the 5 games had at least 2 targets.
At least he had a catch, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. I can deal.
Okay.
Let's see if that.
But the thing is, if I go that cheap, if I go under 1,000, I don't love having
Mark
a
Andrews.
cheap captain.
Fair.
Not just Mark Andrews, but just a cheap captain in general. Usually, I'll kind of make a rule that if I'm going below 1,000, I need to have a wide receiver 1 or so.
Or it's an injury.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't want to make it that wide receiver 1, but I do think switching and putting Lamar at captain is interesting. How much is 58? I have 10,000 left over. Well, Lamar didn't go to captain. That's why. Let's put Lamar at captain, please. 45. Oh, that's likely. That's cool. Double tight end plus
triple tight end almost.
Yeah, true. I meant same team, tight end. Basically, it's tight end for reception volume wise. Nico and Cade. I mean, that's cool. So, all right. These are fun. These are fun slates. I enjoy these slates.
Yeah, they
did a good job.
Same question I asked you on the main slate. If you had to fade a Lamar, a Derrick Henry, or Nico Collins on this showdown, what would you do?
What are the prices again? Who was the Nico.
Nico, I was in agreement. So
Yeah.
I want to try a build where we're fading Nico and
Okay.
pretending that they're just having an off game and it's just a blowout. So we're going Lamar captain, putting Derrick Henry. I want Zay Flowers in there. And what else can we work with? Obviously, we got to play a Houston player.
Dalton Schultz.
What is Dalton Schultz?
52, which I don't like. I'd rather
Yeah.
play John Mechie.
Yeah. Go and John Mechie.
44 for 2.
Can't go likely in kicker. You can go likely in defense.
Yeah, you go Kate. Well, yeah, that makes sense because of what we're painting. So like that.
I know in the last 5 weeks, the Ravens were historically bad in the first 10 weeks of the season against the pass, but in recent weeks they've averaged less than 200 yards per game passing. Not playing as great quarterbacks, but
Right.
an improvement nonetheless. So if CJ Stroud, who's been not a great fantasy player the entire year, he actually had his best performance, I believe, since week 5 this past week, and he only scored 18 points. So
Yeah.
that, and then also his best friend and number 2 target now out for the year. So you want to make that narrative and say CJ Stroud has another tough game. They just don't put up points, and 4,200, not terrible.
Mark Andrews and Xavier Hutchinson?
Did we not have Mark in that last
one? No. Somehow we hadn't gotten him in there yet.
Well, yeah.
That makes sense though. I like the sign.
Fair.
You could you could leave salary if you wanted to.
If we did Zay instead of Lamar, could we get up to likely instead of Hutch? Is that math?
That's the wrong guy.
It does not math. About 500 short. So.
Well, you could move. I mean,
what if we took out Mechie, said Cade Stover, you're our only Houston guy?
You get
73?
100 short of freaking Rashad Bateman.
That's what I was hoping for. Just put all the Baltimore guys in.
But there's a lot of fun here. I mean, I enjoy the slate, so we can we'll obviously send our lines into the chat, and y'all get to see them if y'all are paying attention. And let me stop sharing. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. There is, of course, a Thursday night football game coming up tomorrow if you're watching this video on Thursday. So please go watch that video. We are releasing that tomorrow on Christmas Day, so you'll see that on Christmas Day.
Yeah, that showdown is not nearly as fun as these two, but at the end of the day, our biggest gains sometime are in the ones that we're not confident in. So obviously you had first place in a line a couple weeks ago that you didn't want to play in a tournament because it didn't look great, and then
it was ugly.
Yeah, it wasn't great. And then obviously the Jets and Patriots one I'm still holding on to back in week 3 where I just didn't love it, but I still played it anyway, and it ended up being nearly optimal. It was the second most optimal line. So a whole lot of fun. Always play. It doesn't matter whether you're confident or not. Just play, even balance, manage your bankroll. Play what you're able to lose, but just have fun every single week. And it makes games that are boring or just not competitive or whatever just more fun to root for.
Yeah, sometimes I bet like $5 just because like I have $100 in my account. I'll bet $5 because I'm like, okay, I'm not confident, but I want to see how this goes, and then it's like more fun to watch. Or it's really sad. Either way, whatever. But like, it's just you get to enjoy the rush and stuff. That's the problem with I guess I'm trying to 1-800-GAMBLER blah blah blah. No, but we appreciate y'all hanging out with us, and yeah, go ahead and check out the other videos we're gonna have. We're gonna have a main video. We're gonna have our last live stream this week because we will not have one for week 18. We are both going to be out, and it's the perfect week not to live stream because we do not know who's going to sit and who's going to play well and all those things.
But we're still going to play lines because you just never know.
Right.
Last year, I remember going like 4X on week 18 just because I nailed some of the rest guys. That's just sometimes how it goes. But we'll send lines in. But until then, Merry Christmas from GTT to you guys. I hope you have a great time with your family, watch a whole lot of sports, and have a whole lot of very good food. But yeah, there's a Thursday slate, there's a Saturday slate this week, a Sunday slate that's very small, and then Sunday live in the morning. We will see you guys there.
There you go.